Hello again. Sorry, somebody knocked on the door, which usually happens at some point when I'm trying to film my video. So that's annoying, but that's over. So yeah, I've kind of put bigger projects on hold for the moment, really. So it's not to say that I won't get them done ever, but I think I even knew when I bought things like my Heaven and Earth design that it was going to always be something that would take ages and ages to complete. And I'm kind of into finishes at the moment. I want to do things that I'm actually going to see kind of progress on. So yeah, so I'm kind of really looking forward to Gingerbread Lane, and I'm hoping next time I post a video, which will realistically probably be in about a month's time, that I'll get to show you what I've managed to achieve with that one. And what was the last thing I was going to show you? So the next thing I was going to talk to you about, if I can find it, is I have a list on my phone of some ideas. So I am by no means very good at other crafts. I'm much better at cross stitch, and I'm not really up for learning new things like I should be. I should say, oh yeah, I really love learning stuff, but ideally I'd learn crochet, but I've tried it so many times and it's just not for me. So I don't tend to really do other crafts for for Christmas presents. But what I tend to do every year for Christmas is, even when it gets to this time in September, I start writing down any little thoughts I have on my phone of presents that might be good for certain people, and also I do a list of crafty ideas. So I just thought I'd share them with you, really. So my crafty ideas of things that I'm going to make for Christmas, which, as we all know, will probably not happen, but these are my ideas. I've got an idea that I would like to make homemade pasta. Me and my boyfriend have a pasta making machine, and it's actually surprisingly easy to do, and you can dry out the pasta after you've made it. And I have lots of cellophane bags left over from, for a while I used to sell Phoenix cards, but it didn't really work out because I wasn't really putting enough energy into it. So I've got lots of cellophane wrappers that would be really nice with some kind of homemade pasta and with a ribbon on, so that's an idea. Homemade biscotti, I've done that before, that went down really well. One year I did kind of my mum, my grandma and my aunt I got these nice kind of Christmas boxes just from a really kind of like 50p 99p store, and then I put some truffles, some chocolate bark, which is basically when you melt chocolate and you sprinkle kind of nuts, seeds, fruit on it, and then you let it dry, and then you kind of just tear off little bits. Did some of that and biscotti all in one box, and they really liked it, and it didn't cost a lot of money at all, so that would be nice. I'm thinking about making some gingerbread. I never know how to say this word, nougat, I don't know, whatever that is. I'm looking to make that. I thought I could make Rocky Road, maybe cupcakes for people. I've seen lots of ideas on things like Pinterest where you give people a glass jar and you fill it with cocoa and marshmallows and things that they can make a nice kind of festive drink out of, or with a cookie attached to it, so to dunk in, which would be nice. Peppermint creams are apparently really easy and they're quite Christmassy. I did have a think that I could get some kind of plain notebooks with, those kind of like brown paper kind of fronts on them, and stick some cross stitch on, and jars filled with sweets. So I know they probably sound not very good ideas, but it's the simple things that sometimes people really like, and it's amazing how if you present something nicely, it completely changes it. So there were a few of my crafty ideas for Christmas, and I'd love to hear what ideas you are having. Particularly things that maybe fall outside of cross stitch, so things that you might want to bake, things that you could make up like paper craft or anything like that. If you've got anything that you'd like to share around that, that'd be really good. We could swap ideas. Not that I'm particularly creative with ideas, but I can swap with you if you like. Finally, just a couple of things. So one thing is that I did want to make a video about my Christmas wish list, Christmas projects that I've seen on Etsy that I've put on a wish list. I've started to make that up, but I haven't finished it, and I thought I'd like to do that video maybe next time, we'll see. So when I make wish lists on Etsy, it's not because I'm actually have any intention of buying those things or ability to buy all those things, but it just gets me in a festive mood, and it kind of gives me some ideas and inspiration. So I thought I would share with you some of the things I've seen online that I think look really good. So hopefully I can do that with you next time. I'm at the Knitting and Stitching Show in October at Alexandra Palace in London. I don't know yet what date I'm going. Me and my mum have to decide. I will try and post nearer the time, and if there was anybody that fancied meeting up, perhaps we could do that. But it's a little bit up in the air because I may be obviously moving that weekend after all, so I might have to sacrifice going. So we'll have to see how that goes, but I will be there. It would be lovely to hear if any of you are going as well. The last thing was just some facts that I learnt online, and I'm sure it's nothing that you couldn't find out for yourself or anything that you haven't already kind of researched. It's not something that particularly impacts on my stitching because it's not really relevant to the projects I do at the moment. But I have noticed there's been a lot of kind of debate over kind of copyright and stuff like that. So I read, interestingly, in my cross stitch magazine, so when people do, because a lot of people have written into my magazine saying, and I think I've seen some people mention it on FlossTube about if you want to use like one of those cross stitch designer softwares to create a cross stitch chart for a copyright image, so something like a Disney project, or I don't know, just anything really, a TV program that's on. I always thought that technically that wasn't, I thought, oh, maybe that isn't quite legal. I mean, I don't really, maybe I should, but I don't really have particularly strong opinions on stuff like this. I don't really get very het up about it, but I was just interested in it. And it said that apparently if it's for personal use and you're not going to sell on anything, then it's absolutely fine. It only becomes a problem if you're trying to market them commercially. So people, it's one of those strange situations where you could create your own cross stitch pattern of something that you're planning to stitch for your own home. You could go and use the software to make up the chart, but if you were going to sell it on Etsy, which some people do, that's very different, and that is illegal. The other thing is that I've lost my train of thought. One of the things I always wondered about was when you see it on Etsy sometimes, where sometimes what I do just out of interest to see if there's any luxury kits or anything is I put the search function from high price to low price, and I look on the first pages at what's selling for the most money, and normally it's a few £1,000s for like really big cross stitches that people have stitched and they're selling on. Again, don't really have a big opinion about it. Not really something I have strong views on at all, but I always thought that technically that was probably illegal to do that, but I wasn't really sure. And yeah, apparently same person that wrote into my magazine, and they kind of clarified that as well. So it's not legal to sell a finished cross stitch on Etsy or eBay or anything like that unless you've expressly asked the permission of the designer, because although you have created the work yourself, the designer hasn't been advised that you're doing that. So essentially you're kind of selling on something that they've already done for themselves, that's their design and their imagery and their animation. I just find it interesting because I can see both sides. I can see the side that says, well, you've already paid the artist because you've already bought the product. It's not mass selling, it's a one-off item. You're charging people for the amount of time and work that you've put into it. If it's your work, does that mean that you have a right to kind of actually sell it? I can also see the other side, that obviously somebody has created that image and it's their branding to a certain extent, and if you have, regardless of whether you've taken a lot of time to do their project, it's their imagery that you're using, which they are entitled to royalties and profits on. But I think, I don't know, maybe I should, as an avid cross stitcher, maybe I should have a really kind of strong opinion either way on this. I just found it interesting. I thought it was something that might help people who have been thinking about selling their stitching. I'm not going to tell anybody if you do, but I think sometimes people don't realise what the position is, and I wouldn't necessarily have known. I took a guess that it wasn't technically legal because I imagined that there were some sort of copyright issues with doing that, and it confirmed it really. Apparently, occasionally, like designers, if you approach them, they'll be quite happy if you're using some of their mini designs to make cross stitch cards and sell them at like a local charity event or something. Small scale, but generally speaking you shouldn't be selling it on. But I think it's confusing area. I think it's an area where I don't think it's as black and white as people think it is. I think it's actually quite confusing when you start thinking about, people are actually doing their own work on projects. Um, and I can understand, even if it's not technically right, I can understand why people would think, well, I've stitched this project, so why can't I sell it? But it's just, I thought it might be interesting for those of you out there who might not know, who are thinking of doing the same. The other thing I was quite interested in is, I couldn't do this myself because I'm no way quick enough. But for those of you that did want to make some money from your stitching, whenever I've been to knitting and stitching shows in the past, there's obviously, they need people to stitch up their projects for them to display. And obviously they themselves don't have time to do that, they're running their business. So when I've asked people before, they usually have people that they pay, I think it's a fairly small amount of money, but that they pay to stitch up their designs for them. So I just wondered how people get into that, and who you contact, and how much money you can make from that. That's possibly a way of kind of putting your hobby into some kind of financial income, doing something like that. If you can't sell your stitching, maybe you can look at stitching up projects. For magazines as well, magazines need people to stitch projects up. As I say, I'm not neat enough and I'm not quick enough to do it myself, but it was an idea I thought I'd throw out there and see if anybody knows anything about that, and whether they're aware of how you arrange that, and whether there's much money in it at all. But just a random wondering. But I think I've spoken for long enough. I feel my mouth feels really dry because I've been talking for ages, but thank you very much for watching. I hope to have another video up in about a month's time. I'm hoping for it to be a Christmas wish list, and some of the stitcher tags that have been going around, I thought I would answer some of them. If I possibly can, I will post before then, but I'm guessing I probably won't be able to. So in the meantime, thank you to everybody for watching. Thank you for anybody that subscribes to my channel after watching. Thank you for posting all of your lovely videos and for all the inspiration. And please do feel free to comment on any of the things I've mentioned, any of the questions I've asked, and give me your opinion. So see you soon. Bye. Happy stitching.